Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Well, my screen's quite big, isn't it? If anyone comes in here, they can let me know what the reception's like. I'm actually here to talk about Black Adam. And it seems like critics are sick and tired of comic book superhero movies because they're the main element of entertainment today. Everyone wants each one to be unique. Ronnie Dodge, morning, Mick. It's good to have you here, Ronnie. Let me know what you're thinking. What do you think about the critics? What do you think about what they're saying about Black Adam? I know you haven't seen the movie yet, so it's a bit hard for you to kind of say if they're right or wrong. But yeah, I get it. Absolutely. Always disappointing and hurtful when critics don't like DC movies. We want them to like them. We want a feel-good factor. And when they don't, it's disappointing. But I do feel this year that critics haven't really enjoyed the Marvel stuff. They liked the Batman. They even liked Peacemaker, by the way. But this film, Ronnie Dodge, I feel Black Adam could be like a Venom. Critics hate it and fans love it. Look, if you watch my videos, and I don't know if you have, you know I kind of predicted that they would hate it. You know I predicted it will probably end up being rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not surprised about this because Black Adam, though it's entertaining, it is generic, it is basic in a lot of ways. It's stunning to look at. The action is great. It's entertaining. It is. But then, Teen Titans Go is also entertaining. And I think critics are looking for a Joker, a Dark Knight. And this film was never going to be that, unfortunately. Let me know if my reception's bad or anything. I haven't done a live for ages because my internet is so unstable. So we'll keep this going as long as we can. We got 2 viewers. I didn't expect to have any viewers. Thank you for the 2 likes as well. But yeah, look, the DCEU has a tainted history. There's no question about that. With a franchise, you want a franchise when you look back at it to say, yeah, this was good, this wasn't so good, but it's okay. But this is a franchise with Justice League. This is a franchise with some missteps. This is a franchise that started off with Zack Snyder's arc. We lost Zack Snyder's arc and we went to another direction. They should have allowed Snyder to finish his thing off, so at least we could have a constructive franchise. So this really isn't a constructive franchise, although I love 8 out of 10 of the movies. Ronnie Dodge, you look so clear, mate. So all good. Thank you very much, Ronnie. Thank you. It's good to be live again. I've tried to record 60 videos today, and it's not that I'm fucking them up, but I do have so much to say on this subject. So, I thought it was important. I mean, I have become desensitized to the DCEU hatred by now. Man of Steel, BVS, I used to be shouting at critics, it's a conspiracy, fake, put you up to it. Now I kind of get it. They've had enough of this franchise because to them, it keeps on under-delivering, which is very interesting because James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was great. Peacemaker was great. Doesn't really connect that well to the rest of the franchise, and it kills off many from the original Suicide Squad. Great movie. I was watching Wonder Woman 84 yesterday, part of my build-up to the Black Adam release. I've been catching up on the DCEU. Now, Wonder Woman 84 starts off like slow and problematic, but the third act is really good, and I like the message that Patty is trying to give there, and Gal's performance is brilliant. Ronnie Dodge, what would you do with a Superman movie now? Apparently there's a Man of Steel sequel in the works with Henry. Well, I've been saying this, right? I did make a 10-minute video yesterday talking about this, but let's talk about this now. I was very suspicious of the timing of the Hollywood Reporter article talking about Man of Steel 2 and other things. It seemed to me they were trying to distract from the potential of negative reviews and a rotten score. And I'm very cynical about that rumor, and I don't believe it until I hear something official from the studio or Henry. Now, Henry will be on the Sad and Confused podcast, or whatever you call it. I think he's going to be talking about Superman and the potential of a sequel. I hope he tells us what we want to hear. He may tell us what we don't want to hear. So what would I do with a Superman movie? Well, I've spoken about my own script many times, which puts Superman's no-kill policy on trial. So what we do in that film is we have a modern-day Superman. Now, in the Daily Planet, Clark works with Lois, Jimmy Olsen. He's just left school, so he becomes Clark's best friend and Superman's best friend. But Metallo John Corbin is working at the Daily Planet before he becomes Metallo. When he does become Metallo, Manchester Black and the Elite arrive, and they're trying to manipulate a situation, asking Metropolis, precious Superman, to kill Metallo. And then we get flashbacks to Superman in the Second World War being under pressure to kill Hitler and the Nazis. And he refuses because he doesn't want to kill anyone. He wants peace. And this is the whole structure of the film. Abraham Herrera, I moved on by now, Mick. Universal is going to do its own thing with DC when they sell it to them anyway. So we best move on and find other passions, man. Well, I'm not going to move on, Abraham, at all. I love DC and I like most of the DCEU. I'm lucky not just to be here for Zack. I'm a DC fan. I'm here for DC. I love Man of Steel. I love BVS. I love Suicide Squad. I love Wonder Woman. I like the Zack's Justice League. I love Aquaman and Shazam. You know, Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman 84 are made, but watchable. So I'm lucky that I don't base my opinions on other opinions. And I like those films. And I enjoyed Black Adam for what it was. If it does nothing else, this film, it shows the potential of the DCEU being more interconnected. Abraham Herrera, still going to go to Black Adam premiere tomorrow, though. There you go, then you're not moving on then. Hunter Jolly, IMDb have rated it good, so that's something. Yes, if you've seen my non-spoiler review, that's what I said. I said it's not The Dark Knight, it's not The Joker, it's not Batman Begins, and it doesn't have to be. And most MCU films are not in the great hall of fame of superhero movies as far as I'm concerned. But in my new ranking for the DCEU, which I will do eventually, Black Adam doesn't get anywhere near my top choices. It's not as good as Wonder Woman. It's not as good as Aquaman. It's not really even as good as Shazam. I think Shazam has a better balance. It does horror better. It's got, embracing people who are not your family, who become family. I just think it's got a more rounded arc. I actually think the problem with Black Adam is that The Rock was allowed to choose his writers and his director. David F. Sandberg should have directed this movie. But here's another question for you. Did we need a Black Adam movie, or should he have been the villain in Shazam? I think he should have been the villain in Shazam. Hunter John, hang on. Ronnie Dodge, it's weird to think up next is Shazam, Fury of the Gods and The Flash. Yes, they're up next, but here it is, Ronnie. This is a test if the DCEU will survive. If these films all fail, like this film looks like it's going to do, because by the way, the opening global box office isn't great either. I think they're going to start again. I would rather they start again. If these films can be successful and it continues, I'm fine. But I think the DCEU has too much of a tainted history with the public. Abraham Herrera, I feel bad because Dwayne is working really hard promoting it and seems like he has the best of intentions. We'll talk about that, Abraham, in a moment. Hashling me. Yo, Mike! I forgot how great it is to say your name. Hello. So, Abraham, I want to take you up on that point. Don't you think, even though the publicity and marketing has been electric and amazing, don't you think it seemed rather desperate? Don't you think them spoiling the certain cameo was desperate? Because if they were confident about their movie, they wouldn't have had to do that. They spoiled it for us. That should have been a big surprise. And they leaked it to make us go and see the movie. So that's interesting as well. Now, the opening global box office is targeted at 135 million and only 60 million opening in the US. Ronnie George, I've seen the post-credit scene. I mean, it's good to see him back and also love the new suit. I love everything about it, but they leaked it on purpose, Ronnie. And that's because they're desperate. And this is the problem. They're not confident in what they did. Personally, if you had to do this, Rock, if you had to do a Black Adam movie instead of being a villain in a Shazam movie, which I think, because I don't think Black Adam should have his own movie. He doesn't have enough to be in his own movie. But if you had to do it, you know, David F. Sandberg should have directed this movie. Look at what a great job he did with Shazam. And David has said there's no connections. You know, he doesn't talk to the people making Black Adam. That's ridiculous. But it's great to see certain connections to the Shazam movie, which was good. So the post-credit scene is excellent. I love the director of Shazam did a great job. Not Shazam, say that again. The director of Black Adam is a good, solid director. But I think you can see his flaws. He's not being interviewed a lot because it's not a director-driven movie either. This is not James Gunn. This is not Matt Reeves. This is a bog-standard director that The Rock has brought in. It's a bit like a Kevin Feige situation. You're the director. I'm going to direct you. I kind of have issues with that. But yeah, Black Adam, look, I didn't go into Black Adam thinking, I want to see the Joker. I want to see Batman Begins. I want to see The Dark Knight. I want to see Batman 89. I knew what I was going to get. Muscular Arnold Schwarzenegger type. He's going to kick the living shit out of people. And he's going to, you know, KILL people, just in case YouTube doesn't like that word. So I'm not surprised with what I've got. And I wasn't disappointed with what I've got. Abraham Herrera, but if Henry was so worried about quality, why would he return in such a lackluster way? I will come back after I watch the movie to talk about it and decide if the critics are wrong or not. Well, here's the thing, Abraham. The quality of the movie doesn't matter. There's been multiple post-credit scenes in bad MCU movies. The point is, Abraham, that post-credit scene is really good. It works. The suit looks good. The hair looks good. So it's not lackluster, not for Henry Cavill. And he's being represented by those people, and he only trusts those people to bring him back, and that's why he's in that movie. Marcus Walker, projected to open below Shazam. What a disaster. I think this is a dead end. Well, Marcus, I agree with you here. You know what I think? You know we need it. I think, look, if it was me, if I was David Zaslav, and I would have come in and I would have said, Matt Reeves, you're done. Todd Phillips, you're done. DCEU, you're done. You're all effing done. You are done. I don't care if you hate me. You are done. We are starting again. We're starting with a Green Lantern movie. Green Lantern's our bloody Star Wars. Let's start with Green Lantern. Let's create a saga here. Let's feed off of that. Let's create an interconnected flipping universe. But they're insisting with this franchise and other franchises, and I think that's utterly problematic. Doesn't mean I don't like the Batman or Joker, but we need to move away from all of this, I think. Ronnie George, we Henry again in the ending of The Flash with Sasha's Supergirl, which is great, which is exciting. But again, these movies, Ronnie, need to be successful. You're talking about a movie written by Christina Hodson. Now, interestingly enough, apparently that Hollywood Reporter BS article said they've already written a Flash sequel. I don't believe that. I think it's a rewrite of this Flash movie written by McGoldrick, the writer who did Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So glad Henry's back, but the projections don't say that people are desperate to go and see a post-credit scene, do they either? So that's interesting. I think people are just, not us, the DC fans, we're always hyped. But I mean, the mainstream audience, there's no audience loyalty. You know, there's no consumer fan base for the DCEU. That's the problem. I've been saying this for such a long time. So this is the problem with the situation. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I told you all what was going to happen with the reviews. As usual, everyone thinks I'm talking BS. And a lot of the stuff I say does come true, doesn't it? But I don't have a following. Apart from you, Seven. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the free likes. I'm not very popular, but I'm like shouting into the air and nobody ever believes me. So it's really, really funny how most of the stuff I say, my hunches and when my sources speak to me, look, it's all true. I know what I'm talking about. Ronnie Dodge, Dwayne's movies never get high score on Rotten Tomatoes. No, Baywatch had 14%. They hate him. Listen, let's be honest about The Rock. he ain't the greatest of actors, right? He doesn't look, everyone reckons he's popular, but you know, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's not Sly Stallone in their pomp either. So everyone thought that this film was going to make $1 billion because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's not actually as popular as people you think, and actually a lot of people don't like Dwayne. So it's a bit difficult, but he seems like a lovely man. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he shouldn't be president of DC Studios for sure. I don't think he understands the industry enough. But he's here. He's playing Black Adam. It's happened. Ronnie Dodge, I'm just excited to see Dr. Fate and Hawkman. Yes. Look, I like those characters. Let's talk about the JSA. When I first heard the JSA were going to be in the DCEU, I was thinking, are we going to see them in the past, right? Are we going to have like a historic JSA? And what they've done is they've given us two iconic characters, but then they've given us two kind of newbies, which is fine. But, you know, there's a certain character that goes with another character, you know, that should have been involved. I don't get that. I just think we should have left the JSA and given them their own movie. The JSA deserves so much better. But it's like Birds of Prey in the Harley Quinn movie, as I call it. They were just extras. And they were dressed down. It wasn't good. I actually like the JSA in this movie. Don't get me wrong. And Dr. Fate is the best thing about this movie because, you know, Pierce Brosnan actually went to film school. Pierce Brosnan went to, you know, he trained as an actor. He's British, so you can tell that class. Abraham Herrera, but it always seems like critics go too hard on DC, man. I'll tell you why. Like you said, it's because the good DC movies set a very high bar. Exactly, Abraham. And the MCU hasn't got a high bar. So and basically they love the franchise of the MCU. That's why they shill it. It's franchise loyalty. It's something we don't have at the DC Extended Universe, and we need it. But copying Marvel won't get us there. Ronnie Dodge, Birds of Prey was on the sideline in that Harley movie. Yeah, I rewatched that the other day. It's got some good moments to it, but it's also got a very toxic message, unfortunately. Marcus Walker, I remember at one point there was a rumor the film was going to be set during World War II. I think they should have stuck with that. Yeah, listen, if you're going to bring the JSA in, we want to see the JSA in their pomp. And that really isn't in the modern era, unless you want to set up a JSA and say, they're here now, they're here. And them and the Justice League will kind of maybe join up at some time and you create a Hall of Justice. They don't seem to have the vision. They don't understand the comics. Christopher Nolan don't understand the comics, right? Snyder has a certain vision, but he ain't Bruce Timm. Do you understand? When you watch Bruce Timm's Justice League, you see a Hall of Justice. You see 2 or 3 levels. You see so many members populating it, but they don't seem to have that vision to please like the diehard fans. And then I think they'll please the mainstream fans as well. Ashley, me, are we going to ever see Batgirl since I heard that the score for screenings was as bad as Black Adam? Yes, Black Adam's scores were lower than Batgirl, by the way, but Batgirl apparently didn't have the quality to go to cinemas, which is what Zaslav wanted of it, and he didn't want it to stay on HBO Max. The Batgirl shelving is just weird. I think it's got to do with Hamada's plan and timeline and Zaslav not liking it. I just kind of think we're in the same situation as we were before. And what they're going to do now is Superman. Well, forget about all the misfires, because to be fair, this film has nothing to do with David Zaslav. This is The Rock's baby, Walter Hamada's baby. All these upcoming films can be blamed on Walter Hamada. I think Walter Hamada is being unfairly thrown under the bus and Toby Emmerich being left alone because Zaslav is mates with Emmerich. That's what I don't like. Ronnie Dodge, I like Love and Thunder. It's overrated. I thought it was bloody awful. Oh, like Love and Thunder, it's overrated. I thought it was bloody awful. It was, and he made around 800 million. That's what you call consumer loyalty, you know, franchise loyalty. Hunter Jolly, Mick, do you think Black Adam is a better movie than Love and Thunder? I think so, yeah. Shall I tell you the problem with Black Adam? You know, like his Shazam, you've got all this great stuff. You've got the horror stuff. You've got the family stuff. it's got emotions, but it's got great action. It's got the full package. Black Adam doesn't have the full package. It's action-packed, it's quite epic, but it doesn't have anything else. So when they say it's like an early 2000s, 90s movie, that's what they mean. It doesn't have the depth. Now, the stuff with Black Adam losing his son and all that's good, but they don't have a variety of character in it. Savannah was an excellent villain. The villain in this movie, Sabak, but Savannah was much better. I just think they had the wrong people writing this movie. Rewind the times. I don't listen to critics. I go to movies to be entertained. I never listen to critics. Good for you. I agree. Rewind the times. Love and Thunder was terrible, and it made 735 million because it's got franchise loyalty, because they started from a good place, my friend. That's the problem. Rewind the times. I'm not worried about Black Adam. It will be fine. Marcus Walker, would you say Dwayne is miscast? Listen, I said a long time ago, and I repeat something that Dick Donner said. You know, the Salkinds wanted Paul Newman. They wanted famous actors. And, you know, Richard Donner said, if you see Paul Newman in a Superman costume, it's Paul Newman flying, not Superman. This is why they brought Reeve in. And that's why it worked. Now, when you see Black Adam, you see Dwayne Johnson, but it's the man's ego. He wanted to play this character. So I don't look, he's very good in the role, but you are looking at Dwayne Johnson. This guy, listen, the guy can't act. And we all know that. And I'm not being disrespectful, right? You know, he hasn't been trained professionally as an actor, but he's okay. I don't think he's the major problem of the movie. It's just, I don't think we needed a Black Adam movie. He should have been the villain in Shazam. He should have been a villain. He should have been the villain in all three of the Shazam movies, right? And in the second one, we go all Empire Strikes Back, and he nearly fucking kills Shazam. And in the third movie, Shazam rises up. This is what they should have done. The problem with Black Adam is he's so powerful, it's unbelievable if anyone rises against him. This is why they're trying to use Superman against him, because he's just as strong. Abraham Herrera, when critics don't like a DC movie, they always say it's a Marvel wannabe. I think a lot of people like The Rock, so his round the world promotion might just give this movie a boost it needs. Well, listen, the movie, I suppose, does in a way what a Marvel movie does. It's serious. It's got it's got all the trappings, but it's got gags. Listen, I wouldn't call it a Marvel wannabe, but look, Zaslav seems to be trying to go after that. I don't agree with this. I don't think these people get it. And I think that this is why the DCEU, although I love 8 out of the 10 movies in the DCEU as a franchise for a central mainstream audience, it simply doesn't work because it doesn't appeal to the people it needs to. Man of Steel doesn't appeal to children. BVS doesn't appeal to children. Mums and dads can't go to the cinema and watch Superman break someone's neck. This is the problem. I love those films, but we've got to be honest about these things. Right. Ronnie Dodge, I will go see Black Adam on Friday and make my own decision. That's cool. Rewind the time. Sabak is a Shazam villain. His story is weak. Not surprised to hear that. Abraham Herrera, yeah, the burgers from the lady on my block are better, but McDonald's sells more. Here's the thing, Abraham, right? It shouldn't be that difficult to make a good DC universe. Listen, I know some people don't like it, but the mainstream is where the money is, where the bucks are, the kids, the families, and the adults, a mixture of people. The MCU did that in its prime. The DCEU went after other things because it brought in auteurs who want everything their own way. But when you're working with studio IPs, you can't have everything your own way. Now, when you make a Braveheart, Mel Gibson can do whatever the fuck he wants. It's not an iconic property. But when you're working on DC, there's parameters and checklists you have to check. This is why the DCEU has always struggled. Ronnie Dodge, if a Man of Steel 2 happens, do you think they will bring back Amy Adams and Lawrence Fishburne? It's very interesting, you know, because Amy must be approaching nearly 50 now. I'm 50 in a week or so's time. Not that it's old, but it'll be interesting. I'm sure Henry will want her back. I would want Lawrence back because, listen, is this a Man of Steel 2? Or is this what the Hollywood Reporter were calling it? This may not even be like continuing from the rest of the DCEU. This movie could be a brand new vision that launches a brand new DC Extended Universe. The truth is, we just don't know. But obviously, the guys in Black Adam, you would imagine it continues. But don't forget, spit curl, new costume. What this means is, I think this is a Flashpoint Superman. I don't think this is the Superman from Man of Steel. This is a new Flashpoint Superman. That's what I think. Rewind the times and seeing Black Adam Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. I'll save the DC myself, lol. Marcus Walker, message retracted. Hashling me. I find it weird when The Rock was the only one who haven't an accent while everyone in Cardug does, because he can't act. That's the problem. That's the damn problem, isn't it? You know, what they did with Gal Gadot was genius. What Patty and Zach and Alan Heinberg did was say, look, Gal has an accent. She can't put on another accent, right? I know everyone in Themyscira has a fucking accent. It works. When you work around clever people, these things can be dealt with. The Rock didn't bring in clever people to make this movie. Now, they're all right, but they're not what you need. And the problem is when you're working with The Rock, it's yes Rock, no Rock. Abraham Herrera Mix said MOS2, Flash 2 and those other movies are not greenlit and they are from Hamada's plan. Right, let's talk about this. So MOS2 hasn't, I don't know if it's been greenlit or not. We just don't know what's going on there. Now, Flash 2, I don't think that's real. I think that's a Flash movie rewrite. Because I do think I'm cynical. I'll repeat what I said at the beginning before you lot came in. That THR article was to distract from the bad reviews and the low projections for the box office for Black Adam. The timing's obvious. It was obvious what they were trying to do. So I don't trust that article one little bit. We will see. Marcus Walker, I don't even think the film will hit the projected numbers. I just have a feeling. No, Marcus, you're right. You're absolutely right. So what does that say? Why won't people go and watch these films, right? Why did only 650 million worth of people go and watch Man of Steel? BVS did good. It nearly got 900 million, but the studio spent a lot of money on it and wanted to make like Spider-Man No Way Home money. And obviously Justice League needed to make lots of money, right? Basically, Aquaman is the only film that's made lots and lots of money. Why did Aquaman do better than the rest? I think Aquaman absolutely deserves its $1 billion. Let's look at James Wan. James Wan will be a great director for Green Lantern. Ronnie Dodgy, I agree with Superman after The Flash and how Henry and Sasha deal with the cousin relationship. Yeah, Flashpoint Superman, Flashpoint Supergirl, nothing to do with the Zack Snyderverse. That's what I think. Ronnie Dodge, all we know about the Henry Superman in the works is Chuck Roven is producing, which is good. Right, let me explain to you about Roven. Roven is like the Snyders. Because they started the franchise, they have to have a producer credit. It doesn't mean they're actually heavily involved with the movie. Ronnie Dodge, no, Marcus Walker, The Flash. Ezra can do it with his prison theatre group. I like that. I like jokes. Hunter Jolly, Marcus Walker, I think they'd recast Ezra. Well, Ezra's in court. I don't think he's going to be found guilty. First offence being prosecuted. I don't think he's ever been prosecuted before, so he's going to get probation or something. It's just embarrassing. Don't you want your kids looking up to someone pure like Christopher Reeve, Grant Gustin, Tom Welling, rather than that? Who's watching Talkville? Are we enjoying Talkville? I think it's fucking hilarious. Rosenbaum goes on a tangent about women and, oh my God, the guy just don't give a shit, does he? Actually hasn't mean what? There will be a Flash 2. We don't know. No. A Flash 2 hasn't been greenlit. I don't believe that's what's going on there. It's really nice to be talking live with you. I don't know why I decided to do this. I just thought You know what? I am about 3 o'clock in the morning, my time. I uploaded a video, the one where we go through the article and everything. And I thought, no need to upload a pre-recorded today. Let's see if we can do a live. So we're doing a live, and I think I'll do my live and I won't upload anything else because the uploads destroy my internet and I can't use anything else. So I'm watching DVDs instead of streaming. Ronnie Dodge, do more of these lives, Mick. I think I'm going to have to do them during the day because at night everyone's using their internet around Ayia Napa, and I just think that's what the problem is as well. And weekends, I think, are a no-no. But during the day, a working day, I think definitely if people are home. But even if we have 7 people, I don't give a shit. You know me. Hunter Jolly, yeah, heck yeah, these lives are great. I'm watching from New Zealand. Hello, New Zealand. I love New Zealand. I love Australia. I love all the countries of the world. I don't have any agendas, man. I love everything and I love everyone. Rewind the times. I believe Black Adam will make at least 550 million. It should be good going forward to make more. No. Rewind the times. I love your optimism. You're so optimistic about DC and passionate, and I love that. But I think this is going to make around Shazam money. So that tells you something. But it is interesting. Why aren't people hyped for this movie? I mean, from the mainstream. Why is it going to make so little? Let me open my window. Marcus Walker, what rating would you say the film is out of 10? 5. 5. Look, the problem. Let me explain to you what the problem is. It's got great action, right? It's entertaining, but it's nothing else. You know, imagine those movies you watch, right? Rocky 4, for example, is 90 minutes, right? You know, Apollo dies, it's very emotional and stuff, but all you see really is a training montage, lots of music, a fight, and it finishes. So it feels a bit empty when you... Do you know what I mean? It's that type of movie. Ronnie Dodge, it's weird that it's the first blockbuster movie in the cinema since Bullet Train. I didn't even see that. Abraham Herrera, I felt what you said about Hamada being okay with his horror division and coming to DC only to get shredded by toxicity. What happened to Hamada? I'm one of the few people who gets this, right? What happened to Hamada is so bad because Hamada was just following fucking orders. For some reason, Ray didn't go after Emmerich. He did, but not as strongly as he did Hamada. I don't get that because Ray must know that Hamada was having his strings pulled. I think it's out of order. And even that Hollywood Reporter article, which is clearly was ordered by Zaslav, right, to throw Hamada under the bus. This is now, you know, Zaslav knows these films are going to suck, you see. So basically, the whipping boy is going to be Hamada. It's so not fair. It really isn't. Hunter Jolly, so you'd say it's worth watching. I'm going to it tomorrow. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Go and see it. If it's not going to cost you much money, if it's not going to cost you a big cab fare and things like that, go and see it. Because you're not going to go and see From Here to Eternity, Gone with the Wind, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, or whatever you like, right? Whatever you deem as great movies. It isn't. Look, I said this. I did this disclaimer on my non-spoiler review. This isn't a great movie. It's a really good movie because of the action and the high octaneness of it, and it's a bit fun. And the connectivity to the DCEU is absolutely fantastic. What this film does do is it sets up the future of the DCEU, and you get excited for that. It's a typical, in that way, it's a typical Marvel movie. Ronnie Dodge, Ray's still going after him now. He only got on Rebel Moon because of Zach. Has Ray said anything recently? Because he's blocked me on Twitter. Marcus Walker, I'm seeing it Friday for Henry and Henry alone. I can't wait to see him back on the big screen, even if it's for 10 seconds. It's one great scene. It's really, really good. It's clear that Henry's very busy and that's all they could fit in. Ronnie Dodge, he said something the other day. What did he say? What did he say? Because he's got me blocked. He's either got me blocked or I've muted him. I definitely muted him a long time ago because I just got fed up of listening to him. I supported him at first, but he took it too far. And I don't understand the targeting of Hamada when Hamada is just doing as he's told. Abraham Harris, on top of that, dragged to court by Amber Heard. You are right, Mick. You always where it's time to erase everything and start over. Yeah, I mean, he was dragged in court to talk about that. Now, what was very interesting about that court case, he said he tried to get rid of her from the movie. Now, she's clearly got some dirt on the studio because she's still in that movie. I don't think they can get rid of her. So they've reduced the time she's got. Now, this is ridiculous. You either use her or you don't use her. I like her, Mira. I'm quite happy for her to stay. The problem is the movie could get boycotted. We'll have to wait and see. Ronnie Dodge, he said that Waters stopped the Justice League investigation and still needs to apologise. Ray, just stop, man. Okay, right? So if he doesn't apologise, but he leaves DC, you're still not going to come back because he didn't apologise. He ain't never going to apologise to you, Ray. Don't you get it? He stopped the investigation. He interfered with it because he was told to. Don't you get it? Or have you got some kind of agenda against the man because he's Asian? And we know there's a little bit of afters between the African-American community and Asian people. I'm sorry to say it, but it's a little bit suspicious that he's gone after a middleman, isn't it? Marcus Walker, Ray just copy and paste the same accountability over entertainment tweet every week. Yeah, great Cyborg, loved him, but at the end of the day, there's more than one actor who can play Cyborg. And if this is the way he's going to be, goodbye. This is why we should just reboot the whole effing thing. Because I've had enough. I love the movies. I do. I really do. But I've had enough of the histrionics of it all. Hunter Jolly, sorry, this is a bit off topic, but do you think Aquaman 2 has the potential to make over $1 billion like the first one? This is interesting. I mean, Black Adam isn't a great start to these new DCEU movies because they have to prove their worth to keep the DCEU going, of course. And, Black Adam isn't a great start. But yes, the problem is with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, it has Amber Heard, and people are going to boycott that movie. How many people? We'll wait and see. But I think it will be good enough to hit that. We'll just have to see. Because I always get this box office wrong. I always get enthusiastic, and then it's low. I thought James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was going to do really well. Ronnie Dodge, what annoyed me, Walter gave chance to Ray to come back as Cyborg, but Ray decided to be a moaning. Yeah, well, enough said about that, the better. Marcus Walker, my interest in Aquaman 2 is zero, to be honest. Didn't like the first film. Oh, I loved Aquaman. I thought Aquaman was stunning. It was emotional. I thought Jason Momoa was great. I thought Amber was great. I thought Nicole Kidman was great. I liked that film. I really did. I thought Orm was a great villain. Look, Aquaman is better than Black Adam. There's no question about that. Wonder Woman was a great movie as well. I loved Wonder Woman. I thought that's one of my favorite superhero movies. Man of Steel's, Man of Steel's great. BVS is great. There's a lot of good movies in there that get harshly treated. Ronnie Dodge, I'm really excited for Blue Beetle. Yeah, that's an interesting movie because that's definitely a Hamada movie. If that's going to be released, they're probably going to need to do reshoots. They need to put Ted Cord in that movie, although the test screenings apparently have been positive. Abraham Herrera by Zaslev is trying to make the movie successful in order to sell higher to Universal. They might have to sell for cheap at the end. Listen, the Universal thing isn't a foregone conclusion. It's just a rumor. It's just journalists, and they can't sell that till 2024. So if that's his plan, he's got till 2024. But yeah, that might happen, and that will be RIP Warner Brothers because Comcast will swallow up that company, and that's a shame. This is where entertainment's going. Entertainment has lost its soul, and there's not much to get excited about. Ronnie Dodge, yeah, according to the test screen, Superman and Supergirl are mentioned in Blue Beetle. Yes, that's correct. Clearly, they've gone back and did something there, so it's probably already had reshoots. Hunter Jolly, are they doing Flash reshoots, or do you think they're going to go with what they have already? Well, they did a few reshoots in the summer around May time. I think they've added a few things recently. I don't think there's going to be any more extensive reshoots. But you know what? There's some sites on Twitter that are very pro-Hamada, and sometimes they say shit like Ezra Miller's innocent. Clearly he's not, in my opinion. Sorry, they're not. It's difficult to understand what's going to happen with these movies. And this is DC, this is Hollywood. Things can change at any time. So I don't think this is going to be the first court case Ezra Miller's going to go through, or sooner or later something big is going to happen, and they won't be able to release that movie. So who knows? Marcus Walker, the only DC films I can say I'm genuinely excited for are Reeves and Phillips. The DCEU just depresses me now. Yeah, those two films are really exciting. I think Folie à which is basically a Harley movie, and The Batman should be really good. Rewind the Times, I'm so excited for Blue Beetle. Yeah, the thing is with Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips, they've got freedom to do what they want. When you allow these fuckwit studios to be in control, because they don't understand what a film should be, they're just fucking bureaucrats, it goes wrong. This is why a lot of the MCU fans are just MCU movies are a message in a bottle, and that's it. Let me just sort my door out. Right, where are we? Ronnie George, Henry was shooting for The Flash a couple of weeks ago. Apparently, yes. Again, there's so much information. You don't know what's false and what's not false. Rewind the Times. I'm so excited for Blue Beetle, Hunter Jolly, thoughts on the Scarecrow, Professor Pig, and Clayface spin-offs from the Reeves verse. Well, I would be excited about that, but it's from an article and we just don't know. But, you know, a Professor Pig spin-off movie, because we're talking about movies, because that's what Zaslav wants. He doesn't want HBO Max shows, and neither do I, because me and many European people don't have access to effing HBO Max. So enough already with HBO Max. Ronnie Dodge, who would you like to direct a Superman movie? It's the Top Gun Maverick director, right? I think, as I said yesterday in my video, they have to think very deeply about Superman and what they're going to do. It's clearly going to be, look, at this moment in time, it looks like it's a Flashpoint Superman, not Zack Snyder's Superman. This is going to be a different Superman. In the post-credit scene, he's got a traditional costume on, and he's got the spit coat. That is not the OG DCEU Superman. That's the fact. There's no question about that. This is going to be a new multiverse Superman with like more traditional character traits. So if they're going to go that way, and it looks like they're going traditional, they're going to try and get someone who believes in the traditional elements of Superman. Look, it could be any director at this point. You know, look, in terms of Top Gun Maverick, that director did a good job, you know, kind of with the visuals, but we don't know what he could do with character, like a character like Superman. Obviously, the guy who pitched the story with Henry in 2018, who does Mission Impossible with Tom, that's another one. But there could be someone out there we just haven't thought of. Abraham Herrera, the way things are going with the entertainment industry, we might be on the verge of some big change in the way movies are made. Netflix is struggling, Paramount, HBO, and almost everybody except Disney. Well, Disney is struggling as well, by the way. They're losing customers every day. Streaming isn't the future. Streaming is losing a lot of money. I think the best thing they can do is start to make great entertainment, push it out in the theatrical system, and they can make a lot of money. But while they're so political and creatively bankrupt, we're going to be going around these circles all the time. Ronnie Dodge, that Superman we see in the post-credit scene is definitely post-Flash. Henry wanted to play that version of Superman, for sure. And this is what some fans don't get, that this isn't Snyder's Superman anymore. And Henry doesn't want that. Henry doesn't, look, Henry loves Zack. He supported him in that video when he announced the Snyder Cut, but he didn't even go back to do reshoots for the Snyder Cut. Who noticed that? Zack had to use a couple of old stock footage for Superman in the Nightmare Future. Do you remember? Because Cavill wouldn't go back. But I'm not saying he doesn't like Zack. I'm just saying he's had enough of playing evil Superman. Obviously, he didn't want to play evil Superman in the Snyder Cut, did he? So, yeah, look, big changes are coming. And so I think all they're thinking about now is Superman. They're thinking, let's release these fucking movies that have already been made before we got here. Whatever happens to them, we don't give a shit. We'll market them. Hopefully they do well by accident. but we don't care about them. What we care about, the next movie we care about as a studio, is the Superman movie. I don't think it's going to be called Man of Steel 2, by the way. It will be Superman something and something else. It will have Superman and a title with it. It'll be something original. I think this is actually a Superman, Supergirl, House of L movie. I think they'll use this as a Supergirl movie and a Superman movie. Let's hope it's not a bait and switch. Ronnie George, be interesting to hear comments from Henry soon. Yes, very interesting. Abraham Herrera, I say get rid of all streaming services. Stop giving us 10 bad streaming movies and give one good theatrical movie instead. Like the old days, but the old days, unfortunately, are gone. Ronnie Dodge, Man of Tomorrow is a good title. Yeah, and I think Kara will be in the film as well. And they could set up Kara. They could set up a new Jimmy Olsen. We want a Flashpoint Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen is more important than people understand. This is a 16-year-old boy who becomes Superman's best pal. He's the audience's entry point if they do him properly. Marcus Walker, have you seen the hardcore Snyder accounts turning on Henry? Yes, I have, and I think it's hilarious because it's ridiculous. Henry is a polite, respectable young actor. He hasn't done anything wrong. Look, to anyone watching who supports the Snyderverse, I love the Snyderverse, but I think we're done there. I think we're done. Now, if they announce they're bringing it back and restoring it, I'll be happy. I won't be upset, but I think we're done there. Ronnie George, according to that article, Henry shot that scene last month. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. But there was a time 4 months ago when the Rock Goes were going back to, just to add a few bits and pieces. I thought that's when Henry did it. But who knows? Yeah, this was a rush job. This was done recently. That's for sure. So that doesn't surprise me. Listen, these are desperate people trying to do what they can. They're trying to set up the future. Now, that post-credit scene, we don't know. That must be post-Flash. Must be post-Flash. But that article, Ronnie, I don't have much faith in it anyway. As I say, it was a distraction because they knew. $7 and Warner Brothers and The Rock knew that critics were going to hate this movie and the box office wasn't going to be great. That's why they were desperately trying to promote it so hard. Ryan, Hierarchy, DC Universe, fans, Cinematrix, I don't care about the critics and neither should the studio. Well, unfortunately, the critics do influence the audience. Unfortunately, this is where we are in the world today, just getting rid of a pop-up. So they are important, unfortunately. And listen, if every critic is saying something negative, you have to take notice of it. Why is that happening? Why don't they like this movie? And it's exactly how I've described it. The movie has great action. It's entertaining enough, but it doesn't have the balance, for example, of the Shazam movie. So it feels like a way, it's entertaining, but it feels like a bit of an empty vessel. Character-wise as well, they don't do much with Atom Smasher and the Whirlwind Girl, what's her name? I forgot now. Cyclone. They don't do enough with them. Dr. Fate is done very, very well, that's for sure. Ronnie Dodge, it's so funny, but it's clear Henry wasn't a fan of the way Superman was going in that universe. They think Zack owns that version of the character. Let me explain, and I'm sure you understand this yourself. You don't need me to explain to you like a little boy. But he liked Man of Steel. He liked where that's set up. He believes if they were going to go down the anti-life equation thing and evil Superman, he wanted Superman to at least be the character we all know and love for a movie or two. The problem is the studio wanted BVS because they weren't happy with the MOS box office. These are a bunch of used car salesmen. So this is why they rejected Henry and his pitch, because they don't understand. And now Zaslav is saying, look, Superman is the character. We're leading everything off of Superman. Whether that's a right decision or wrong decision, we'll have to wait and see. It depends who makes the next Superman movie. Abraham Herrera, let's take a red pill. Come back to reality. Snyder is better off with Netflix. His sensibilities are better and served there. Well, listen, it doesn't matter where you are, Abraham. When you're doing your own IP and not somebody else's, you have more freedom. There's a responsibility with DC because it has a fandom. It has an iconography. And unfortunately, as much as we all think we know best for DC, but there's still things you need to uphold there. And I mean, Superman killing Zod wasn't even Zack's idea. That was David Goya's idea. Let's not get that twisted. But I couldn't take my nephews and nieces to watch Superman break somebody's neck. It's just not right. So you take Superman away from children. Now, all these adult fanboys now think Superman belongs to them and it doesn't belong to families and children, and find that word families and children offensive, but it's not. Superman was created for children. We were children. We grew up into adults and loved Superman still, and that's okay. Superman and superheroes are for everyone. They're not just for the Watchmen crowd. Watchmen is for an adult audience. It's not really for kids. And there's the thing, and I think this is where it's become a bit twisted. Ronnie Dodge, I'm just glad Zaslav is a fan of Henry's suits, but yeah, I agree. I want to see Henry as the character. I love in the comics. Basically, by him being Flashpoint Superman, they can say, right, this is a new franchise now. This is a new Superman. Flashpoint is a soft reboot. So they're going with what Hamada was doing, but a little bit differently, I think. Obviously, bringing Superman back. Batgirl's an interesting thing. I don't know if Batgirl was ever supposed to be in the Flash movie. That's interesting. I think she deserves a cameo. I feel sorry for Leslie. I don't think it's fair that they shelved her movie. And it's just all very, very strange what happened there. I mean, you talk about protecting the DC brand like Hamada does, not Hamada, Zaslav does. You know, really, if you really wanted to protect the brand, maybe these movies shouldn't even be coming out, but there you go. Ronnie Dodge, they're doing the multiverse, but tweaking it. Yeah, they need to explain it properly or people are going to get confused. The whole Keaton Batman, what are we going to have here? A Keaton Batman, a Batfleck Batman? Should we have an older man who mainly dressed up as Bruce Wayne all the time as the DCEU's Batman? Are we going to have two Batman? What's going on here? Marcus Walker, if Alan Moore had his way, it wouldn't be for any audience. Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I love Alan Moore. You know why I like Alan Moore? Because he sticks it to these incompetent bastards. They're just a bunch of bureaucrats who take people's works, pay them a pittance for it, and then piss on it. And this is why Moore's so pissed off. It's like when they did the whole the Watchmen series. And, you know, the showrunners like Lindelof's writing to him saying, yeah, it's another person messing up your stuff, thinking that would make Alan Moore like him. And he's saying, I don't want you to contact me. Fuck off. I don't like you. You're just another idiot. You took something and put your identity politics propaganda in it. I'm not interested. That isn't my Watchmen. So Alan Moore is extremely funny because what he's saying is pretty true. He hates them. He's a typical old British old geezer. I love Alan Moore. He's actually not as miserable as people think he is. He's got a good sense of humour from what I've seen. But Alan Moore doesn't like Snyder's Watchmen. He doesn't like Lindelof's Watchmen. He don't like anything that's done with him. He doesn't even like superheroes anymore. And I think this is what's going on with critics now. They're getting bored of superhero movies because it's the same thing again and again and again, and there's nothing interesting. But James Gunn said a similar thing, considering he started off in the MCU. That's interesting. And then there's this supposed mystery project by James Gunn, which I just think is the Justice League Suicide Squad movie that was planned under Hamada. James Gunn's been very, very quiet. If this was an MCU movie, he'd be saying, oh, yeah, I helped direct my Suicide Squad portion of that movie. He's not speaking. It's like he's a little bit ashamed to be associated with Black Adam. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, look, this is a franchise in flux. Who knows where it's going to go next? Abraham Herrera, yeah, I know. I mean, the Snyderverse is over. You know, I was a super supporter. I'm sure you remember. I do, but I know how to lose. And when you talk about Snyderverse defenders still doing the same old is sad. Yeah, listen, what happens is, and I can understand it, you get stuck in your own bubble with your own fans, and you all have this echo chamber. And if anyone has anything different to say, you attack them. But attacking Christopher Reeve's Superman theme and Christopher Reeve's Superman movie isn't going to win anyone any friends. Ronnie Dodge, I feel that Amanda Waller was added in the reshoots for Black Adam. Yes, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Pac-Man, critics are so biased. Marcus Walker, is Waller a cameo or supporting role? She's there to recruit the Justice Society of America to go after Black Adam. Why she's doing that, and that's not the only reason she's involved, she will be involved in another reason as well, and with what happens to Black Adam at the end of the movie. But she's there because she allegedly thinks he's a threat, but she may be after something else, as she always is. I love Viola, as she was born to play Amanda Waller, one of the best iterations of any character in the DCEU. I think Air got her right. I think Jeff Johns' rewrites got her right. I think where I didn't like her that much as I did before, was in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. He made her too comedic, too softcore. She wasn't as intimidating anymore. Ronnie Dodge, I feel down the line she's going to be a villain down the line. Who, Amanda Waller? She pretty much is a villain, isn't she? I mean, I like what they did with her in Smallville. I mean, she got like Icicle to go after like the fledgling Justice League in Smallville. Then she literally killed him and says, "Welcome to the Suicide Squad," which is so iconic. Abraham Herrera, Mick, how about you do a live after the movie premiere so we can talk about it? You've seen it, but we haven't. Yeah, what I can do is I want to get it fresh in my mind again. So I'm going to go tomorrow or Friday to see it. And after I do that, we can talk about it, and I can answer your questions, and I can tell you lots of spoilers and stuff. And if you don't want to get the spoilers, you can't watch it. Ronnie Dodge, I did see a certain character is in Black Adam from Peacemaker. Yep, which we knew from leaks ages ago, didn't we? So we knew that was happening. So yeah, so there's connectivity to the DCEU in this film, and they're not afraid to do it. Marcus Walker, I have no idea how people like Mercury and Geralt function. How can you just think about one filmmaker all day, every day? Nuts. Yeah, because that means you're not a DC fan. You're a Snyder fan. And all you want is Snyder DC. And that's up to you. But I'm a DC fan. And I want to see good DC movies. And I want DC to finally work. Ronnie Dodge, Harcourt. That's right, yes. So that's a spoiler, but it's an obvious spoiler. We all knew she was going to be in it. Yes. So, and she has a purpose for being in the movie. So she was in it from the very beginning. Ronnie Dodge, I feel this is the most connected DC movie. Yeah, look, I don't know where the decisions came from. It looks like elements of that connection are from Hamada, and elements have been forced in there, obviously, with you know who. But yeah, I think that was the original plan anyway, and this is the direction they were going. But also with Hamada and Emmerich, they were commissioning a lot more stuff on HBO Max and reducing the stuff we were getting in cinemas. For example, 2023 we were just going to have actually no cinema movies, because originally Blue Beetle was on HBO Max, Bad Girl was on HBO Max originally as well, and like the Green Lantern show, everything was going to be on HBO Max. They weren't really doing anything for cinemas in 2023, and then they like moved stuff from this year to next year. And Zaslav came in and said, what the frick do you think you're doing? I want to go theatre. I don't want HBO Max. HBO Max isn't going to make me any money. Theatres will. So he's going back to the theatrical system. Actually, if you noticed, a lot of motion picture companies are kind of saying, right, yeah, we need to be making content. Really, Disney will probably keep the streaming stuff, Netflix, because Disney is in its own Disney Plus bubble now, and that's it. But, you know, Black Adam isn't the second coming. You know, it isn't. It's good without being great. That's what I can say. So these critics clearly went to see a movie that was top draw. And I'm surprised they ever thought they were going to get that, or they knew they weren't going to get it and used it as an excuse to trash the movie. Ronnie Dodge, did you see Universal are making a sequel to Twister? What the fuck? Yeah, apparently one of the directors who did the Predator sequel this year is denying he's involved. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Look, they've got no imagination. How you can sit there in your boardrooms of a movie studio and think of this shit to do, this lazy shit, and go, yeah, we'll just do that. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get how bankrupt these people are. Abraham Herrera. Amanda is always in the shadows, always watching. Yes, she is. She's a great character. And we want her showing up, and we want her to meet Superman. She name dropped him enough in the first Suicide Squad, and even name dropped him in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad as well. I'd love Superman and Amanda Waller to meet. Avatar 2, The Way of the Water, finished. Sorry, you've lost me. Ronnie Dodge, they can only get Helen Hunt back. Why do it now? Bill Paxton wanted it to happen ages ago. Look, I don't care when they made this, whether Bill was alive or now he's dead. I would never, I barely watched the first one. I even remember the first one. I remember some wind, right? But I have no interest at all. Why would I care about a sequel to a movie about some wind? Marcus Walker, all the reviews I've seen are either 1 star or 3. Yeah, that tells you something, doesn't it? To say it's action, but nothing else. Avatar 2, The Way of the Water, the DCEU is finished. Are you being sarcastic or serious? Well, I'm asking the question, is the DCEU finished? But I think the DCEU has very little hope, to be honest with you. But the new universe they create after Flashpoint could have more potential with the way they're going with Henry's Superman, which is a Flashpoint Superman, and maybe a new Flashpoint Batman as well. Now, originally, Robert Pattinson, it's got a little cameo in the Flash movie as well. I wonder if they'll keep that. Abraham Herrera, when the first SS came out, I was so excited for the connectivity of the DCEU. Then nothing happened until now with Black Adam. Very true. I love the connectivity in the first Suicide Squad. Ronnie Dodge, I feel we will find out after the Flash. Yet the Flash movie is the new era. It's the new DC Extended Universe. That's when they go into something different. That's a new franchise. That's why we're getting a new Superman, right? Basically, they'll change stuff and keep stuff, I assume. Maybe it'll just be a brand new thing altogether. Flashpoint means brand new. Everything's afresh. So, but it's difficult. It's difficult because the franchise has a difficult past. Ronnie Dodge, Black Adam versus Superman is the new BVS. I'm joking. Let's hope not. I don't think they're doing it. By the way, he's stepping back from that now. The Rock, he says he wants to do something a bit more than that. I don't think you can do a Batman versus Black Adam movie because what happens with BVS? People expect a fight for 2.5 hours, and you're not giving them that, are you? So you get a 9-minute fight, which is quite long in screen time, but because you call it Batman versus Superman, everyone gets a false impression. Avatar 2, The Way of the Water, earthquake. I just experienced an earthquake just now. Oh dear. Ronnie Dodge, you have to build up to that sort of event to make them butt heads. Well, listen, if they butt heads, it's in a movie that has other stuff in it, like James Gunn's Justice League and Suicide Squad movie, which they're apparently doing, right? Even Grace Randolph spoke about that a few weeks ago. So I don't think they're going to have their own movie where they're fighting because that doesn't service Black Adam and that doesn't service Superman. It's just a quick box office grab and it will fail. Marcus Walker, it's very, very unlikely, but if Ezra did get jail time, do you think The Flash would still be released? Interesting. Well, I suppose that solves the problem of having him dealing with the marketing. Knowing this company, it wouldn't surprise me if they still released it, but it'd be very, very difficult for them. Very. But they clearly want to release it because they don't want to lose any money and they think they can make money. But Black Adam is a great example. We are talking about a film written by Christina Hodson in The Flash. That's the problem as well. She wrote Birds of Prey, right? She's not the greatest of writers. So I don't know if they've reworked that film, if McGoldrick from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom rewrote that movie and they shot what he wrote. We will never know. There was even rumors that Ben Affleck wrote his scenes in that movie. Avatar 2, The Way of the Water. Really excited for Black Adam and the future DCEU movies. Ronnie Dodge, it will be Justice League versus Suicide Squad, which I will be compared to Civil War. You watch. Abraham Herrera, hopefully Dwayne and Henry don't fall out like he did with Vin Diesel. Egos are dangerous. Well, listen, I don't think that, I think The Rock understands his position, and with Black Adam not going to do very well, he's not really going to be in a position of power anyway. I mean, there'll be people who say this is an amazing film, but it's all about money and box office, and this film is going to make Shazam money. Unless this happens, which I can't see. And it ain't long to the marketing of Wakanda Forever. So everyone's going to forget about Black Adam very, very soon. And Wakanda Forever is going to be a better movie than Black Adam. From what I've seen of it, that's what I think. Ronnie George, I feel Henry will want creative control over the new Superman movie. I think there's elements of that. I just think he wants it to be inspirational. I don't think he wants total control over it, but he won't make another dark Superman movie. That's for sure. And I think this is the problem when you bring certain people to make these movies. They're not for everyone. And you can't have Superman, Batman, and The Flash or whoever not being for everyone. I think the best place for Zack Snyder is with Wonder Woman, because Patty Jenkins doing more frightens the hell out of me. Abraham Herrera, oh yeah, Wakanda Forever might bring back the Marvel hype. You never know. It looks good, but we'll see. We've been here before. Look, it's been a bad year really for superhero movies. Apart from Peacemaker on streaming and The Batman, it hasn't been a great year all round. And it's really been films like Top Gun Maverick and the animated Minions: The Rise of Gru that have been the most successful. Ronnie Dodge, you know what I wouldn't mind if they mixed the Williams and Zimmer theme together in a future DC movies. It's going to be interesting. I think maybe originally that music was on there. Maybe they've changed. I don't know what happened there. We will find out. I think eventually they're going to use the original music. I think they're going to use the Williams music eventually. And certain people are just going to have to lump it. Because they all boycott these DC movies anyway. So I don't know why they care. But obviously, Henry Cavill being back. Look, the only reason they're excited for Henry Cavill because they think they're going to restore the Snyderverse. That's not what's going to happen with Henry Cavill. He's not playing that Superman, and it's obvious. As we wouldn't have to spit skirt. If it was up to Snyder, he wouldn't have to spit curl, would it? He wouldn't have that costume on. He'd have the black costume on, wouldn't it? Marcus Walker, Christina Hodson couldn't even handle 5 lead characters in Birds of Prey. And The Flash has about 30. Yeah, so it's a disaster. Hopefully, as I say, McGoldrick rewrote her script. Because if it is her script in that movie, it's another disaster. You know, we're getting one now. So, but at the end of the day, if they have to start again, I'm happy with that. And if The Flash is a renewal, I'll be happy with that. But this franchise is in a hole and it's constantly trying to dig itself out. And it never does. This is where we are. This is why I think a clean break would have been the best thing. Abraham Herrera, the problem with Zimmer's soundtrack, I think, is that the imagery didn't become as iconic as the music because of Snyder's melancholic style. But I still love MOS. Yeah, I love MOS and I love Zimmer's theme and it's very good and everything. I think it can, from a certain point of view, can sound inspirational. There's nothing wrong with it. Listen, you're right about the melancholic kind of style. That's people's issues with the situation. I can embrace what Snyder did. I don't have a problem with it. And I wish they at least stuck with his arc, let him finish, then go. Then we wouldn't be in this situation now. I'm afraid they didn't do that. Ronnie Dodge, Henry Cavill coming back doesn't mean Zack is coming back. No, it doesn't. It means that Henry gets to play the character he loves dearly. Yeah, this is a different version, as we already know. It doesn't mean that. This is why a lot of Snyder fans are very upset and getting abusive. But it won't change anything. It will not. These are people with wives and children. Look at the way they act. What kind of example are they to their own children? For me, it's disgusting. A lot of these trolls are fathers. Think about that. And their children become bullies, and then other children hurt themselves because they're being bullied. It all comes from the parents, right? Marcus Walker, scrap Williams, scrap Zimmer, and start fresh. The problem with DCU is it keeps looking back instead of moving forward, as much as I love those themes. Well, listen, the DCEU is the Zimmer theme, the DCEU as it is now. So they're not looking back. Now, in terms of John Williams, you've got to understand, we're not just talking about an old Superman theme. We're not talking about dinner, Batman. We're talking about a pop culture phenomenon. It's Superman the movie and that music. When people hear that music, they think of Superman, right? They don't use the Star Wars theme so much, but when they did one of the sequel trilogies, the Star Wars theme was on there, right? Smallville used the Williams theme in Rosetta when Christopher Reeve guest starred, and in the series finale, and no one was complaining because it's iconic, right? Ronnie Dodge, John Williams' theme is the Superman. People need to deal with it. Listen, I'm not kind of going to say they have to use it. What I'm going to say is it's a pop culture thing. And it's not just, look, Bryan Singer used it, right? I know it was the same universe and everything, but he used it. And he wouldn't do the film without doing it. And we know that Singer's problematic. There's a lot of people who will be very happy. The Snyderverse fandom confuse everything and cause issues. This is why I would start the DC live action universe again, because it doesn't matter what they say then. It's brand new. We're not using his stuff. End of. Get over it. Abraham Herrera, if he had finished his arc, we would have had a completely new DC by now. It's crazy, just like the Dark Knight trilogy. It would have been its own thing. Exactly. It would have been done. Zack even said he would have instigated his own Flashpoint to start again for someone else to come in. And if they wanted to have Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns running it, because I think without having to rework what Zack did, they could have done a good job. After all, Joss Whedon wrote and directed the first Avengers, which made the MCU so popular. Short Circuit, please watch Black Adam. Don't just judge based on critics. We should go and watch it in theatres. Absolutely. Ronnie Dodge, it's such an iconic theme. I don't get the hate. It gets from them fans. Well, I understand their hatred because they're in this echo chamber, unfortunately. They're not actually, historically DC fans or Superman fans. You'll hear them say something like this. I didn't like Superman until I saw Man of Steel. Now, I love Man of Steel, but if you fell in love with Superman via that movie and you haven't actually experienced anything else like Smallville, Superman, Superman 2, and even the other movies, right? If you haven't experienced the other stuff, then you don't really get Superman. If you read the comics and understand Superman. The argument, they defend Zack Snyder's kind of thing that he doesn't rate Jimmy Olsen. But I've explained earlier why Jimmy Olsen is actually important. Imagine being a 16-year-old boy and being the best friend of the greatest superhero of all time, and how that can be an entry point for the audience, the younger audience as well. You've got to think about the business, and story threads like that and characters like that can really help your business if you think about it, if your mind isn't closed. Abraham Herrera, maybe those fans didn't watch the OG Superman movies when they were kids. Maybe they weren't even born yet. Well, here's the thing. I wasn't born when George Reeves' Superman was out. Guess what I watched? I missed the Superboy series in the 80s. I've rewatched it. I don't really like the Lois and Superman show. Not this one, but the one with Dean Cain. I've seen all the seasons just to experience it. It's good to experience a bit of culture and not just say, I'll never leave my country. I ain't going to that foreign country. That kind of attitude. So just because they weren't born then, and if you've got an open mind, you realize that Superman the movie is timeless. In fact, if you look at Man of Steel, it doesn't have a lot of flying in it, nor does BVS, and neither does the Snyder Cut. But Dick Donner, in an era where the technology wasn't there to make him fly convincingly, had him flying, because that's Superman's number one power. And even now, when Superman's flying after the rockets in Superman the movie, or the rocket, it's the best Superman flying out there. Even what Snyder's done with $200 million, that tells you something about that movie and about Richard Donner. That tells you more about Dick Donner than it does about Zack Snyder. Avatar 2, The Way of the Water, you've got some good points, but I think Black Adam will do better than Shazam, even though Black Panther 2 will release 3 weeks later. Exactly. That's a worry, my friend, because people won't be talking about Black Adam after that. The MCU, whether it makes good content or bad content, is like a runaway train. Shazam 2 and others will do good and create goodwill for the DCEU. I hope so. I hope you're right. Marcus Walker, Superman 2 is the best for me, followed by Man of Steel and Superman the movie. Yes, Superman 2 was the first time I saw a supervillains and a superhero fight. And again, think about what they didn't have in VFX technology, and it's great. He gets crushed by the coach. It looks very basic, but you can see, and a lot of the great effect of the Christopher Reeve Superman was Christopher Reeve himself. He sold everything he did. He was even a glider pilot, which meant he knew how to do his body language when he was flying. Look, anyone who wants to talk against Superman the movie can. I don't mind. But I always defend it because I think for its time, and even now, it's amazing. The only thing with the old Superman movies, the pacing's a little bit slower because it's like 40, 50 years old. Abraham Herrera, shit. Hang on. SHIT Avatar 2 may turn out to be the best movie of the year and put a dent on superheroes. Listen, let's put it this way. I love superheroes, right? I do. But they're going out of fashion. People are getting fed up of them and they're going to make less and less box office. And studios, once that happens, will realise, let's stop doing this. Because they keep on going at it even when they fail. I think even WB in the end will say, right, let's forget DC. Let's start doing other stuff. Let's just start making proper movies again. And I think that's where we're going with this. Short Circuit. These are the same critics who gave 64% to Thor Love and Thunder. I agree. And Thor Love and Thunder was one of the worst MCU movies. It's completely my opinion. Yes, Short Circuit. That's the thing. That there's a lower standard for MCU movies. And also, these people are shills. They're actually fans of the MCU because this is what we're talking about. The MCU has brand loyalty and the DCEU doesn't, unfortunately. I mean, we give it brand loyalty, but the general audience and the general critics don't. So I'm not attacking critics anymore because I'm not going to be defensive over it anymore because I'm world weary with the DCEU. And as I say, I've become desensitized to the pain of listening to the hatred and the divisive Hamada fans and the Snyder fans fighting against each other. I can't even be bothered anymore to defend anything or anyone. What I'm saying is, if I like a movie in this franchise, I like it. I like most of the movies in the DCEU. I can understand why some people don't like Man of Steel, don't like BVS, but I do like those movies. And I think the DCEU has a great set of movies. Unfortunately, it's not interconnected enough at this moment in time. Abraham Herrera, Mick, do you think there are no creators with original ideas in Hollywood or they just get rejected? Well, I think what's happened is a certain political movement has hijacked the industry and a lot of the talented people have left the building. And yes, you're right. When good pictures are made, original pictures, they say, oh no, that's brand new. Who's going to go for that? See you later. That's what's going on. So we are in an era. You know, they criticised Black Adam for being an empty shell, the empty vase. Do you remember that episode of Friends? And this is what entertainment has become. So we think back with nostalgia to the past a lot fonder because there was a lot of average shit when I was a kid. Let's not get it twisted. Hollywood has always been this. It just, when it did good, it did really good. Like Gone with the Wind was really good, right? Superman the movie was really good. Lethal Weapon was really good. But then there was the shit they did, which was really bad. This has always been Hollywood. Right. Where are we? Avatar 2, The Way of the Water. I thought Multiverse of Madness and Thor Love and Thunder were horrible. No Way Home wasn't very good either. Toby, Andrew and Willem Dafoe scenes were the only good parts of that movie, in my opinion. Right, let's chop this up a bit and discuss it. So, you didn't like Thor Love and Thunder. I didn't really think much of that film. But with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse. I thought that film might have been a bigger disaster. I don't mind that film, but it's not the best thing ever. And then what did you say? Oh, Spider-Man No Way Home. I actually thought that was a lot better than I thought it would be. And at least it gave like Spider-Man this new origin story. Now he's actually going to be Spider-Man. But when we see him again, I don't know. I like people who say, in my opinion. That means they don't think their opinion is universal. And this is why we don't have arguments. If you ever see someone saying something you don't agree with, but they say, in my opinion, don't get into them. You can disagree with them. You can say, that's your truth, that's your opinion. But never get aggressive with someone who says, in my opinion. That's a good person. Everyone has their own truth and their own opinions. Abraham Herrera, basically studios are like social media algorithms. They are only give you more of what you've seen before because it assumes you like what you watch and just suggests more of the same. Yes, they use computers to judge what they do next, judging on social media and what's said on social media. Superheroes, it's whatever's trending now. There's no common sense anymore. It's about trends. So Superman trended the other day with the Superman rumor. But if you don't get him right, no one's going to watch a shit version of Superman. No one's going to watch that version of Superman that's had his fucking upper lip cut down, right? And talking about his fucking car keys, right? And comic book Superman fans don't like the Man of Steel Superman. They may like Henry Cavill, but they don't like the Man of Steel, and they certainly don't like the BVS Superman. And that's what disjointed the DCEU. Batman versus Superman was the film that took such a deep dive. People said, no, fuck this. He's taking the piss now. I love that film, by the way. But fans who come in to see a bright, inspirational superhero movie said, fuck this. No way. No way. This is so dreary. This is not me. I don't think that. I like it. It is dreary. It's an indie movie, and I like it. But a lot of people were very offended by that movie. Short Circuit. We as DC fans should come together and support every DCEU movie from now. Please support DC movie. I try and support what I can. Obviously, if I think something's a piece of shit, but it'll be very difficult for me not to support a DC movie. The other day, I saw for the first time DC's Leagues of Super Pets, made by the same production company as Black Adam, The Rock's production company. That was a great movie. I got a lot out of it, and you can tell he loves Superman. The way he did the Krypton sequence at the start was awesome. And he used the John Williams Krypton theme there, by the way, as well. So we know where he's coming from. So I don't think it really makes a difference what happens with Black Adam or the rest of these movies in terms of box office, because I think these movies are the old regime's movies. They've got to release them. I don't think they give a shit about these movies, but they're trying to make a little bit of money out of them. So they've pushed hard. So I think this film cost about 120, 150 million to make. I think if it makes 400 million, 350 million, they'll be happy. So we'll see how it does. It's going to be interesting with this film because the projections are not great. It's all right. I'm just practicing something. Because every time I move my hand, and it's annoying me. Basic HD cameras, that's the problem. Can't handle motion. Bit like my 4K Dolby TV. When I go 4K, when it's Man of Steel, when he flies up, you see these lines. It's so annoying. And I've tried to sort the motion out in the settings, and it doesn't make a difference. I don't know what it is, but it's annoying. I think it's because Man of Steel wasn't shot in 4K, and I think this TV doesn't like it. But then again, I think it does it on everything. Wow, we've been here for over an hour. That's amazing. You know what? I did this, and I think it's during the day, because I know you come from different time zones. It's like, what time is it here? 1:45 in the afternoon. So in America, everyone's Betty buys right now. New Zealand, I don't know what the time is there. So I'm surprised, but it's great. We've even got 8 likes, which is amazing. But yeah, it's cool that you've all come in and the reception isn't terrible. I'm very happy about that. But yes, yes, yes. Here in Cyprus, actually, Black Adam is released on Thursday, which is tomorrow. We always get these films a day early for some reason. A bit weird, but there you go. So I can go and see it tomorrow or Friday. We'll see. Abraham Herrera. It's almost 4 a.m. here. Wow, yeah, you're in America, aren't you? So that makes sense. Yeah. So that's why I thought. I said I'm not going to get any Americans on the live chat because they're asleep. And I know a lot of people who follow me and subscribe to me are probably American. Don't get too many Brits, by the way. Which is strange. I don't think us English-speaking YouTubers do too well. I mean, I don't really know why critics hate DCEU's films so much because I don't even think they're bad, right? And it's funny, like Birds of Prey did really well with critics, which isn't a good film. Wonder Woman 84 isn't great and did really well with critics. All because they were female-led, by the way, and female-directed, of course. It's all very political with these people. So you can't trust anything they do. And it is political as well. They don't like The Rock. Not that I swing his way politically, but he's a Republican. And that could be a thing as well. So if he was a person of colour who was more left-leaning, I think they would be a bit more, because he is a person of colour after all. But it's funny how their agendas change if that person of colour happens to not vote the same way as them. So these reviews are very political, but the box office never lies. It never lies. I mean, there's been some shockers before. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero was a flop, but I think it's a really good film. It was a good, entertaining film, but people didn't come to it. That's weird. I think it's because people didn't want Arnie doing family movies. So I think that's basically covered everything that I wanted to say about the reviews, the film, the fact I don't think that's a Flash sequel. I think it's a rewrite for the Flash movie. And just in general, we are where we are with the DCEU because of the studio and its different leaderships and not understanding. And Christopher Nolan was never going to godfather a great DCEU because he's not a DC fan. He doesn't understand DC. And then, you know what's interesting? David Goyer has written DC comics before, and he got driven out after Man of Steel because it didn't make the money. And then they brought Terrio in. Terrio knows nothing about DC. He's not even a DC, admirer. But he's a mate of Ben Affleck's, and that's why he got involved. So that's interesting as well. So what happened was a lot of these people who make these DCEU movies, even beyond the Snyderverse, don't really get DC. And that's the problem. They don't really understand what it takes to make a good comic book movie. But saying that, Todd Phillips isn't a big DC man, but he made a really good movie. He understood the Joker's history. There's lots of Joker Easter eggs in his Joker film as well, which I was surprised about because he just said he made Joker as an excuse to use a comic book character to make a film that he wanted to make. Abraham Herrera, let's talk after the movie so we can discuss spoilers, Mick. Break down the movie. Yeah. We will discuss it. We will discuss it fully and analyse it and see where it went right and where it went wrong. Because all movies go right and go wrong. But yeah, it will need a discussion and an analysis. And it's yet another DCEU movie that's been shat on from a great height by the critics. They don't like it. It's as simple as that. I mean, you look at Joker, which is a great movie. Even the Rotten Tomato scores, even though it was verified fresh, I don't think they were at 99% or 90%, if I remember rightly. I mean, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad started off at nearly like 95, 99%. And you can't say that film's better than Joker, although it's a good movie. It's all about opinions, I guess. Abraham Herrera, and for you to tell us if anything is different from the screening you watched. Absolutely, yeah. I think there'll be changes. I think they changed some things. Not a great deal, but I think there's things that are there that are probably different. Because they mess around with these films all the time. I mean, The Flash has so many test screenings, and not because people like it, because they want to see what needs changing. It wouldn't surprise me if the Flash movie is constantly getting changes. And by the time they're done, it won't be the movie it was originally, which actually is a good thing. So they're making that film on the hop. Oh, we did this, but they didn't like it. Let's do this now. So I think that film has had plenty of test screenings and plenty of changes to it. But that film's going to be problematic, I think, in places. And of course, it's problematic because they've got Ezra Miller in it as well, which doesn't help the situation. Right, everyone, we're going to sign off. We've been here for 90 minutes, which is the length of Rocky IV and a lot of other great movies. Back in the day, films used to be really short, by the way, but they were still really, really good, which is interesting because people lose their shit if a film's only 2 hours. Black Adam is only 2 hours, but by the way, you don't want that film to be any longer. I mean, what is there to say past 2 hours about Black Adam? This is the problem why maybe we didn't need a Black Adam film. We just needed him to be a villain in a Shazam movie. But because it's The Rock, he can do whatever he wants. He was boasting that in the marketing. So they allowed him to do whatever he wants. But if this film flops, he won't have that advantage or that power anymore. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for the 9 likes. Thank you for the interactions. And I will see you again in the next video. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Oh, you have to do that first before you go. See you later.